She's going to bring some of her helpful tips to us, and just traveled with this cookbook and inspired a lot of people. And I almost feel like I've seen a celebrity after watching you on YouTube and on your website now. So let's give her a warm welcome. Thank you.
Hi ladies, or good morning. How are you guys today? Good? Did y'all have a good Thanksgiving? Yeah? Well, that's good. I'm going to just share a little bit about my testimony with you for a little bit, and then I'll talk to you about how I was not even a candidate for cooking to writing a cookbook. And then we're going to do a little cooking demo here for you to see a sample of some of the food that I do have in the cookbook that's healthy and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my testimony. I was born with bilateral hip dysplasia. Has anyone familiar with bilateral hip dysplasia in here? No? Basically, a few. Okay, well, I was born without hip sockets. So when I came out of the wound, I just dangled. My legs didn't curve up or anything. I just kind of wobbled and dangled there for the longest time. And after I was born with that, the doctors told me I have to have an operation to fix this situation. So my parents took me over and over to the doctors a few times to get x-rays to make sure that the surgery was scheduled for everything that needed to be done. My parents were good Christian people. They grew up in the church, so they took me to church and they prayed over me. And right before the operation, they did one more x-ray, and miraculously, I had 2 hip sockets formed. So from birth, God did an amazing thing on me and my body, and I've never had one operation. I've never been in a wheelchair as the doctors expected me to be, and I wore leg braces like Forrest Gump for a little bit, which is quite embarrassing, and got in trouble because I never wanted to wear them. But other than that, I've been healthy. I've played soccer, and I'm walking around as you guys are today too. So God is an amazing God even at birth. Then I grew up in a Christian home, and I was never sick growing up, and I just went to school every day and was miserable because I got picked on all the time because I was taller than everyone else, and I grew as a woman faster than most. And if anyone out there is like me, you understand being picked on and having name calls, and it was miserable. So I grew up actually suicidal. I was an Army brat child, so we moved all the time, and if any of you in here are military, you know that moving a lot, or if you just move a lot, it's hard to fit in with people and make new friends. So I grew up desperate to find friends because I was the extrovert personality. I was fun. I wanted to be with people. I had to be with people. So I just kind of picked anyone, and if they picked on me, that was attention, that was great. But it also wore on me the wrong way, where I became suicidal growing up, and I stayed that way for several years. I'm not going to give anyone tips in here of how I did it, but I tried everything in the book. I also was abused by boyfriends in the past, as well as other people, and the abuse, physical, emotionally, mentally, just took a toll on me. So that's why I continued into this up until college. Basically, I went to school and to being a nurse. All I ever wanted to do was be a nurse. I wanted to make a difference in someone's life. I wanted to make them laugh. I wanted to make them happy. And what better way of doing that than being a nurse? I loved the blood and the gore. That was my thing. So I became a nurse and went to a one-year nursing school. And that one-year nursing school was very difficult, but I made it through it, became a nurse, and I got to nurse for about 7 years. After 7 years, that's when my life changed, and that's where the rest of most of my testimony gets started. I was diagnosed in 2008 with inappropriate sinus tachycardia and postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. That's a tongue twister if you try to say it fast. But basically, I have an adrenal condition and a heart condition. The adrenal condition is the POTS, the postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and basically in school you learn about fight or flight. I am constant flight. My adrenals are constantly shooting up adrenaline to my heart, which causes my heart to beat erratically and out of control. I have attacks similar to heart attacks. I get them every day, several times a day. They can last for a few minutes, they can last for several hours. And because of that, I was told I can no longer be a nurse. I was devastated. I had a heart surgery. Heart surgery did not fix my problem. I had Graves' disease before that, and I had a complete thyroidectomy. And they think that the disease, I was born with it, but it came out of dormant with my traumatic heart surgery. So it's just, my life just unraveled in 2008. At that point, being told, I'm sorry, you can no longer be a nurse, and that was your dream, I was devastated. So I literally came home from Mayo Clinic angry, and I was bitter with God. I didn't want to talk to God. I didn't want to talk to anyone who was healthy. I couldn't work. My life was over. All I ever wanted to do was be a nurse, and I was told I couldn't do that anymore. And I was young, and I didn't understand what God was doing to me. And so I literally stayed at home every single day for a couple of years, angry and bitter. You didn't want to know me. And my friends, they didn't really want to know me either, and I think I lost a lot of them during this time. But sometimes when things are taken away from you or things happen that are bad, you need the time to grieve. You need the time for you to pick yourself back up to make yourself a better person. And so those 2 years of me being angry and bitter with the world and with God was necessary for me to be who I am today. After a couple of years of this, I decided, okay, I'm just gonna paint the walls. I'm gonna do anything I can to keep myself busy because I can't work, so what am I supposed to do with myself? My husband and I are from Tennessee, well, I'm not originally, but I'm from Tennessee, and that's where I met him, and our families live in Tennessee, so we went back for a UT football game. And our parents have season tickets, which is why we went back. And the same weekend we were going home for a football game, Don Piper, I don't know if y'all have read his book, 90 Minutes in Heaven. It is the most incredible book. I read it. I don't like to read a whole bunch, but I read that book because guess what? It was about blood and gore in heaven, and to me, that's pretty exciting. So I read that book, and he was sharing his testimony at our church that morning. So I got to experience my favorite book. I got to see the guy that I just couldn't wait to see. And guess what? Satan gave me the worst attack that morning that I could possibly have. I got nothing from his testimony, from his story. I was devastated because that's what I was looking forward to the whole weekend. But the amazing thing is, I got 18 words from his testimony. And if you know anything about God, he can use anything to teach you something, to show you something, or to talk to you. So those 18 words were what I needed to change my life. He said, if God can bring a dead man back to life, just imagine what he could do for you. And I sat there on the pew, still angry, and I said, you know what? You're correct on that. I do have a life. I am breathing. I have lungs. I am able to breathe. I'm able to talk. I have a heartbeat. Yes, I can't do what I wanted to do, but you know what? Things change. You have to roll with the times and just do what you can do. So that morning, after I thought about it, I said, you know what? All right, God, I'm going to accept this disease of mine. I'm going to accept it happily. I'm going to do exactly what you want me to do. Whatever it is you want, I promise I will do it. So that morning, I literally just closed my eyes in prayer, and I prayed, and I wept like a baby, like my parents had died. I scared my husband to death because he was standing up next to me, and he thought I was having a heart attack. And all I had to tell him was, I'm sorry, I'm just having a moment with God right now. Everything's fine. So basically, I prayed, God, I wanted you to remove all the anger from my life, all the bitterness from my life. I don't want to be suicidal anymore. I want to be happy. I want to have true peace and happiness because I didn't know what that was. I never experienced that before. But that second, I prayed to accept this disease, to accept my life as what it was. God miraculously changed me. He gave me a vision, and he did an amazing thing. I hope that you all get to experience the amazing power of God when he can just transform your life and just talk to you, and just that moment of, wow. I can't describe it in words because it's truly a God thing. But that morning he said, okay, you've accepted your disease. I know you mean it. So you know what? I want you to write a cookbook. And this is when I laughed at him. I literally said, I'm not writing a cookbook. I don't know how to cook, because I'll get into that in a minute, because you really are, it's scary what I was like growing up with cooking. But he said, you're gonna write a cookbook, and then I want you to have a TV talk show down the road one day to inspire women, encourage women. And I literally laughed in his face again, because I'm not about I don't like being on TV, which I know it doesn't look like it right now, but again, when God tells you to do something, you do it. So I was like, okay, you want me to write a book? I don't know how that's gonna happen. I can't cook, but okay, whatever, I'll write a cookbook. We come home back to Virginia Beach, that's where I'm from now. We live in Virginia Beach, and we went back home after the Tennessee football game, and I discovered Food Network. Did y'all know that existed? I had no idea. It was all these years, the Food Channel, I had no idea that existed. But guess what? I went to culinary school at Food Network in my living room, and that was the best school that anyone can go to, because I could wear PJs all day. I didn't have to talk to anyone. No A's, no D's. I was great. So that's why I went to culinary school, as well as trial and error in my own kitchen. And to tell you about this, laughing at God's face and telling him, heck no, I'm not writing a cookbook, let me explain that my cooking was pretty bad. I put a bagel in my parents' microwave when I was a little girl for 10 minutes. Can y'all imagine what that did in 10 minutes? It didn't even get halfway through the 10-minute cycle. The microwave is on fire. The house is filled with black smoke. The bagel is on fire. The paper towel is on fire. And the microwave is on fire. Everything is on fire. I literally could have burned my parents' house down. My dad was fighting off at war. My mom was out walking. So I was home alone in the dumb blonde I was at the time. I was like, I don't know what to do. So I let it keep cooking because I didn't know what to do about it. And I literally almost burned my parents' house down. So that is one cooking disaster that I was like, seriously, you want me to write a cookbook? I don't think so. I burned Jell-O on the stove. It is possible. It is definitely possible. I did not know you're supposed to boil the water and then put the sugar Jell-O packet into the dish and then pour the water over it. I didn't know that. I put the Jell-O in the sauce pot in the boiling water on the stove and it burned. I make soup brownies because I don't know how to measure water. So, I mean, it's a disaster. And the worst one, and I promise all you young cooks out there, if you haven't done it yet, you're going to. Who's cooked Thanksgiving? Anyone? Any disasters in here? I hope there is, because what I'm about to tell you is pretty sad. 3 years ago, I cooked my very first Thanksgiving dinner for my in-laws that came to visit. I cooked the turkey. I made it with herbs, and I put onion in it, and it was the most beautiful little bird you could have. And I put it in the oven at the time they told me to do it, at the hours and length that you're supposed to do it. I take it out, I let it rest, then I start carving it, and it's bleeding. And I'm thinking, I've ruined this too. I really can't cook. And he wanted me to write a book, seriously. So what happened, instead of being a smart person, I think it's ruined. So I put it in a dish. I have woods behind my fence. I threw the bird over the fence because I thought there's no way I could revive this, make it edible. So I literally fed turkey to the animals that live in the backyard because I wasn't smart enough to know, oh, if you stick it back in the oven, it'll finish cooking. So that is why I laughed at God when he said, you need to write a cookbook. Because my husband and I, we literally had boxed meals for the first 3 years of our marriage. Monday night was maybe lasagna, Tuesday night a chicken pot pie, Wednesday night was the one meal I did know how to cook, which is a family secret, homemade spaghetti. But I didn't know how to cook. I had a little spice rack that I got as a wedding gift about 10 years ago, and it's set on my counter for decoration because I honestly had no clue that had use. I thought it was for decoration because no one told me what a spice and an herb was, so it's set there. So basically, this is my past of cooking. And that's why that Sunday morning when God told me, you need to write a cookbook. And I laughed at him, and now you know why. So basically, I come home that September weekend, and I start watching Food Network, Cooking Channel, cooking in my kitchen, and I was amazed and shocked out of my mind. I knew how to cook. I could write a recipe. I figured out that little spice rack had purpose. And of course, I tossed the 10-year-old spices out of the trash, and I got new ones, and boy, did they taste good. I learned that you use flavor, and those are what that's for. And I learned how to cook healthy, and I learned how to make a recipe. And from that September weekend, I've written thousands and thousands of recipes, which before I couldn't even read a recipe. So truly, when God tells you to do something, even if you don't think it's possible, he's going to make a way for it to happen. So following that September weekend, God gave me the passion to do it. I started writing the recipes, and I had no idea how to even form a cookbook. But somehow, that's another story. But I formed the cookbook. We found someone who was able to to print the book, to design the book for me. All I had to do was edit the recipes and write the recipes. It came with a lot of money involved, but God knew that this is what he wanted me to do. He supplied the money that I needed. And then we have a cookbook, and here I am today, telling you that anything is possible, truly. During this process, though, it scared me because it was outside of my comfort zone. So one night, my husband and I, after the September weekend, we had gone to a party for his work, and a woman who I had never met before spoke prophecy to me, and it scared me half to death. I've never had anyone speak prophecy before, and it kind of threw me off a little bit. But I listened to her, and she said, I just want you to know, we were in the middle of conversation, and then all of a sudden, she just stops the conversation and steps forward and scares everyone, because she's like, I've got something to tell you. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm in trouble. I've never met you, but okay, you're mad at me, I did something. But she said, God wants me to tell you that whatever it is you're working on right now, it's going to be very huge, and it's going to be very, very successful. And I looked at her like, okay, who told you something? Because I didn't talk to you. I don't know you. My husband doesn't know you. Where did you get this from? And she said, I'm serious. I don't know anything about you, but are you working on a project right now? And I said, I am. I am working on a cookbook. And she said, God wants me to tell you that whatever it is you're doing, it's going to be very successful and it's going to be very huge. That scared me. I was like, okay, how did she know that? I didn't understand word of prophecy. So that evening I went home and I did my Bible study. And I did it from the most amazing book that I love with Bible studies. It's called Jesus Calling. I don't know if you've seen this book or anything about this book, but it's truly amazing. If you don't have it, you need to get it. Well, that evening, my Bible study, I prayed before I read this, and I said, okay, God, I want you to confirm what everything I'm doing. I want you to let me know if what I'm doing is what you want me to be doing. I want to know if this is exactly the right path that I'm taking, if I'm doing your will. Well, that evening, my Bible study said, you can achieve the victorious life through living in deep dependence on me. People usually associate victory with success, not failing or stumbling, not making mistakes. But those who are successful in their own strength tend to go their own way, forgetting about me. It is through problems and failures, weakness and neediness that you learn to rely on me. True dependence is not simply asking me to bless what you have decided to do, but it is coming to me with an open mind and an open heart, inviting me in to plant my desires within you. I may infuse with you in a dream that seems so far beyond your reach. You know that in yourself you cannot achieve such a goal. Thus begins your journey of profound reliance on me. It is a faith walk taken one step at a time, leaning on me as much as you need. This is not a path of continual success, but of multiple failures. Each failure is followed by a growth spurt, nourished by increased reliance on me. Enjoy this blessed, victorious life through the practice of dependence on me. And that kind of freaked me out, because I was thinking that's exactly what I wanted, was confirmation, and boy, was that confirmation. But basically, through this whole testimony, I kind of gave you a shorter version since we have a time limit and we've got cooking still to do. Basically, I just wanted to share with you that I had a rough life growing up, being suicidal and having a lot of issues with that. I was not the smartest kid in school, and moving around a lot, you have to make new friends. And then when I lost my career of being a nurse, the only thing I ever loved, it feels like your life is over and that there's nothing you can do, and that it's like God hates you and that you have no hope. But I just want you to know that there is hope out there. And even now, I have experienced something that I know a lot of you in the audience have probably experienced. And even though that you are in your God's will, I want you to know you're going to have stumbling blocks. You're going to have moments where you feel like He's left you, and that is okay. I was told in 2008 I was not allowed to get pregnant because of my disease. It was too dangerous for me and for the baby. Don't do it. And so my husband and I, after almost 10 years of marriage, at that time, at 8 years, it's like, what did we do? Why can't we have kids? We want kids. Everybody wants kids. But we thought we were over. So finally, a couple of years down the road, I meet a new specialist with the disease, and they said, you can have kids. It's going to be dangerous, but yes, you can have kids. And my husband and I started trying having kids, and in this past September, we got pregnant. And then that was the most exciting thing that I was thinking, yay, God, I'm doing what you're supposed to be doing. Things are going great. I'm happy, and our life is finally taking off with kids, a family, and everything that everybody wants. It's not just about career. It's not just about money. But it's about happiness and family and just doing what God wants you to do. Well, we go to our baby's first ultrasound on October 25th, and we found out we were having twins, identical twins. But then the next words out of the doctor's mouth were, your twins are dead. You're not going to be able to have your twins. More than likely, they're not going to live. I know the situation. So you don't have any hope. Well, that morning before we left, I'd had a dream, and that dream scared me to death, but I didn't want to think anything of the dream, but I think God gave me that dream to prepare me for what was about to happen. We went a few weeks waiting to find out if it was just the babies didn't have heartbeats, and we went back to do another ultrasound about 2 weeks ago, and the babies were still, they had passed. The doctors were right. We lost the twins. 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks ago, I had my DNC, and I had to remove the babies from my body, and I'm still emotionally distraught over this, but I just want you to know that even though you're in God's will, even though you think that you are doing everything you're supposed to be doing, you're still going to have failures. It even said it in my devotion book. Life is going to be hard. Life is going to throw things at you that you don't think you can make it through. You're not going to understand why God does what he does. But I just want y'all to know that it can happen. God will redirect your dreams. God is going to, if I can't have kids, it's gonna be okay. We'll try again, we'll see what happens. For anyone out there that's experienced the same thing, I would say keep trying. For someone who's experienced a loss of a job, I would say God is gonna redirect your dream. If it's not in this career, maybe he'll open a door in another career for you. If you've lost a child or if you've gone through a divorce, don't give up. Because as you see, I could have given up and just stayed miserable and angry with God, and I never would be doing what I am today if I had not had hope, asked God to direct me and to guide me into where he wanted me to go. So my encouragement today is to, if you are going through a rough time, do not give up on God, don't give up on yourself. It is normal and okay to be angry with God during hard times. Trust me, I still am battling that, and I was battling that with the disease. And it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be in denial. That's part of the grieving process. But as long as you grieve and then you pick yourself back up and allow God to direct you, your life can be truly amazing. So basically, that's my testimony in a nutshell. I'm going to go ahead and we'll start cooking, and we can have questions and answer time while I'm cooking. I'm going to give you some health benefits. And basically, I'm going to let you partake in the blessing that God has bestowed on me, which is this cookbook. So feel free to ask questions while I cook. We're going to today make a healthy version of mac and cheese. How many of you guys have kids out there that love macaroni and cheese? Everybody. Do y'all know that there is a way to make it healthy for you where you don't feel as guilty eating it? That's what I'm going to show you today. While this is heating up and warming, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the cookbook that God inspired on me. It's truly a God thing. My cookbook is for every dietary need. Since I can't be a nurse in the physical form, I now am a nurse in the written form. Basically, I have lots of recipes, and every single recipe has alternatives for vegans, gluten-free, vegetarian, dairy allergy, peanut allergy, any kind of allergy you can think of. Every recipe literally has alternatives for all dietary needs. So if you have a household where you have a vegan and a meat eater, you don't have to have a million cookbooks. You don't have to have a million different meals cooking. You can cook the same meal and just swap out one ingredient to make it for everyone. And so that's a little bit about my cookbook I wanted to share. But today I know that there's probably some people who are gluten-free, but I am going to be using whole grain pasta. But in the cookbook, you can use brown rice pasta. I've actually cooked with it many times, and I absolutely love it. I just didn't bring it today. But we're going to start by making some sauteed shallots. Anyone familiar with a shallot? It's really good, and it's in the onion family. And exciting news about onions. Did you know that they melt fat from your body when you eat them? So if you're feeling fat one day, just gnaw on an onion, and you'll get real skinny real fast. We're also going to add some olive oil. This is going to be extra virgin olive oil. We're going to use this to saute the onion. And to let you know, extra virgin olive oil does not clog arteries, and it's very healthy for you. So we're going to use a couple of tablespoons of that to saute the shallots. And while I'm cooking, feel free to ask any questions. I'm cooking for a larger number, but in the cookbook for a serving of 6 to 8 people, which is what it's for, I used about 4 to 5, but if you're cooking for a family of 2 to 4, you can use anywhere between 2 and 3, and that would be good. And if you don't like shallots, or if you don't want to pay for those, you can use red onion or just regular onion, that's fine. Okay, these are basically about finished. The good thing about shallots is they saute in very quick time, so we can go on to the next phase. We're gonna make a roux. Is anyone familiar with what a roux is? It's basically, you need a little bit of fat, which is butter. I don't use a lot of butter, so don't get scared. I have high cholesterol, so I've had to learn how to cook without butter and fat. But you use a little bit of butter, and then you melt it, and then you add flour, which is your thickening agent, to make your sauce. So we're gonna melt the butter. Add a little bit of flour. You use the same amount of flour as you do butter. And then you want to whisk the two together to form a paste. Did someone say, did you say something? What kind of flour? I use, this right here is the whole grain, whole wheat flour, because it's healthier, but you can use all-purpose. You can use gluten-free flour, the brown rice flour. You can definitely use that. And that's in the recipe as the alternative, that you can make this completely gluten-free. Okay, to make this healthier, I do have, you can use milk, because milk is healthy. You can use almond milk, you can use soy milk, but I'm going to use low-sodium chicken stock because that is basically healthier than milk. It has no calories in it, and you're not putting all that fat into it. But if you wanted to put whole milk or any type of milk, you could do that too. But since I don't live here, I didn't want to bring milk and not know if it was going to be cool enough, so that's another reason we're using just stock today. And then what you want to do is just whisk it together until it thickens a little bit to make your sauce. I'm going to add a little flavoring. Since I don't use salt and I don't use a lot of fattening flavors, we're going to use some Dijon mustard for some added flavor. It's low calorie and it's really, really good to add to any recipe for a little flavor. Something else about this recipe, if you have kids that don't eat vegetables very well, they're kind of picky eaters, this is the perfect recipe that you can puree. After cooking cauliflower, butternut squash, any type of vegetable, you can puree it after cooking it and add it to your cheese sauce. They'll have no idea that they're eating vegetables. So that's an idea to do with cooking mac and cheese like this. I'm gonna add a little bit more stock since we've got a large crowd. Any other questions about anything? No? This right here is an electric skillet, since I couldn't have my kitchen here, but you can cook with any type of, whatever you have at home is fine.
And why do you prefer shallots to just plain onions?
To me, they have a little bit of a garlicky flavor to them. Not to me, but they do. And instead of adding garlic on top of it, it just adds a little different flavor than a red onion. But I've cooked with red onion. In fact, because I had such a large crowd I cooked for today, the first batch over here is actually cooked with red onion because shallots, they're tiny and onion is bigger. So I've actually cooked with both today. Okay, now that my sauce is about getting thick, I'm gonna add some ground black pepper because again, I'm not adding salt. Cheese already has salt in it, so that's less sodium that we're having to add and fill up on. So I'm just gonna add some black pepper. All right, now that that's thick, we're gonna add the cheese. Now, this is gonna look like a lot of cheese, but one, I'm having to double up everything to make sure I can feed everyone, but two, this is the only fattening thing your kids will be eating is the cheese, the calories in the cheese. So it's not gonna be as guilty eating the cheese, knowing that that's the only fat that they're really eating. Also, the sharper the cheese, the less you have to use. It has more flavor, so if you eat sharp cheese, you don't have to have as much of it. Gonna add a little Parmesan to give it a little more flavor. Plus, Parmesan cheese is healthy. Did y'all know that? It's the healthiest cheese. I did not get the low-fat ones because I did not know if we had anyone with allergies to reduced fat or fat-free, so it's regular cheese. But I have made it before I got sick and could not eat that cheese. You can definitely use low-fat. You could even use Laughing Cow if you wanted to, the cheese wedges. You could do that too. You have a question?
Have you tried coconut oil or ghee instead of using regular butter?
I actually have tried all different types of butter. I've done canola butter. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It has the oil in it that's healthy, heart healthy for you. I've used others, and each of them all work in all of these recipes. When I wrote this, I wanted to make sure that literally everyone could use anything in their kitchen to make it. And I made the alternatives to where it was easy to use everything for all dietary needs. I'm going to add just a little more of the cheese. Okay, I used the whole grain pasta today, and the whole grain pasta has more fiber, so you're feeding your kids a lot of fiber. It's also healthier, lower calorie for you, so we're going to use the whole wheat pasta today. Now, since this had to sit in the car, I cooked it yesterday before I came. It looks gross because it's all chunky in the dish, but I promise it's good. I had to cook it and before I came, since my hotel didn't have a kitchen. So this looks kind of gross, doesn't it? Looks like I have a brain in my skillet. Any other questions about anything? About the weather? It's cold outside. Y'all enjoying this weather? It's freezing. All right, now that the pasta's in there, you want to cook your pasta to al dente, which is not done yet because it's still going to cook a little bit while it's in your skillet mixing with the cheese sauce. So you're going to cook it a few minutes shy of what cooking time should be. And then you're going to mix your cheese sauce with it, and as soon as you mix it in with your cheese sauce, you're done. It's ready to eat. Something else that I brought with me that's in my cookbook, I made homemade potato chips. They are literally to die for. I dare you to eat just one because you can't. So I have some of those up here that y'all can try. Y'all are really quiet, or y'all just hungry?
How long did it take you to complete your cookbook?
From start to finish, we got the designer August 1st, and then 6 months later, we had it ready to print. And I self-published it. But the recipes probably took about 1.5 years to write the recipes before we actually got to the designing part of it.
And can that be ordered online and you sell them today?
You can order them from my website, but we do have over 100 in the back. So if anybody wanted any for Christmas gifts, or if they wanted to purchase today, you could do that here. They're in the back of the room. And as soon as I finish the pasta, I'll go back there and answer questions about it. In my book, I have homemade recipes from scratch recipes like salad dressings, barbecue sauce, apple cider. So I've got homemade stuff from scratch, so you don't have all the corn syrup and all that stuff in it. What's that? My website, it's www.inspiredartofcooking.com. I've got my business cards back there that you can grab, and you could subscribe to the website because I put recipes on there that aren't in the book. I have cooking demos to let you see how to cook some of the food if you didn't, because I kind of need pictures. I'm not that smart. So if you are like me, there's cooking demos to show you how to cook a lot of the food, and there's fun food facts and inspirational thoughts and stuff like that. Basically, I went home that weekend, and starting that Monday, I turned on the TV because, again, I was laying around the house doing nothing for years. And the first thing that came on was Food Network. And that's when it started, was literally the day after we got home.
What were some of the shows that you found to be like the most helpful in kind of your cooking style and developing your own niche?
I don't know. I just kind of watched the whole everything. I watched because since I was learning from scratch how to cook, I literally watched everything, and I just kind of learned something from a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so if we need to make more academic,
I just wanted to say thank you to Karen. She did travel from Virginia to be here with us today, and which I thought was really wonderful, especially since all she's been through this week. I had told her, don't come, we'll see you in the spring or come back another time, and she was like, no, this is great for me, you know, this is part of my ministry. And so I was so happy when she agreed to share her story with us, because I think even though the cooking is wonderful, with our theme of taking the plunge, I think her story just brings such inspiration to me to continue to take that plunge in life, in motherhood, in being a wife, and just striving towards living as God would choose us to live. So thank you, Karen. I'll give you a round of applause for that. Thank you.